How much was the budget and how long did it take you to shoot it and edit it?
I never discussed budget. Um, I would say it's valued at $1 million. I shot it, I shot it in one day. 2 crew members. Editing. Editing should have taken about, can you hear me still? No? Editing should have taken about, literally about a week, but I had some sound issues. So it took us about a month to 2 months actually to go around the process of getting it cleaned up and so forth, and doing a little ADR.
Thank you.
I just want to say I just want to say it was a really great film, and it's a kind of conversation which everyone is having these days. So it's a very important subject because and I'm glad you brought it out. And it's just great. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. So,
What's your name? It will bring further conversation.
Correct.
Right.
So the reason why I actually made the film was because I have a lot of female friends, and I kind of end up being that intermediary. So my homegirls will call me and say, "You're never gonna believe what happened this night," and I'm constantly hearing these stories about guys who tried too much or went too far, or from my female friends who have told me stories about what they ended up doing, usually out of fear that something would eventually happen to them. So they end up saying, okay, fine, touch this, do this, or even worse in some instances, letting certain things happen that they really didn't want to. And when the conversation broke out with Me Too, if you went online and read social media commentary, which is always usually the worst, it was extremely polarizing. So a lot of men had a lot of dynamic things to say, because a lot of times we as men don't have a chance to be a part of the conversation. So it's usually just the blame and the spotlight on us being predatory. But nothing really goes deeper into the conditioning that happens in our everyday society that kind of either A, makes us that way, or B, the confusion that happens for good men who are not trying to be predatory and rapey, but just have not really learned what that looks like in regard to going after and being on a date and then misreading signals. And then to the opposite, there are a lot of women that also don't understand how some signals can be misinterpreted by men. So this in social media, it was just very aggressive conversations that were polarizing, not bringing people together. So the goal with the conversation was to make something that could kind of expose both sides of the story. There are a number of women that have also told me, how they changed their mind. And that's very confusing for a lot of men. And a lot of men are like, well, why did you come to my house? And well, you told me you wanted to be intimate, but then you changed your mind in the middle. And at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer that if someone says no in the beginning, the middle, during, or whatever, wherever you are in that position, as a man, you should stop. And this is in particular now because there's another athlete that's now in a position of potentially going to jail, and I don't know what exactly happened as of late, but there's a lot of men going to jail, a lot of young boys being arrested, 9th graders, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds in school, because of doing things that have gone too far. And I, for one, really want to help a lot of young boys and men not be put in these positions. And there's not enough healthy conversation about sexuality in general, in particular in the United States. So you have a lot of confused young men and women. And in particular, if you look at social media, young boys are really confused in today's society because you have women and girls showing every part of their body, and for a young man to then make the assumption that she doesn't want to be sexual without any having real education about sexuality and healthy conversation, it's really confusing. And I've spent 15 plus years of my life working with victims of sex trafficking and sexual assault. It's actually how I started my career as a filmmaker, making a film called Svetlana's Journey about a 13-year-old Bulgarian girl sold into prostitution, whom I met among many other dozens of kids in Bulgaria who were forced into sex trafficking. And I learned a lot about sexual assault, rape, all of these issues. So it's my goal, just as an artist, to bring these conversations to light. And sometimes it can be very polarizing. So,
For sure.
so anyway, thank you.
Thank you again.